as we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He met with Art Rooney. He met with Coach Tomlin. He met with myself shortly after the season ended. He reiterated that to us, that he wants to continue to play. And we told him, quite frankly, we have to look at this current situation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Missi Matthews. Welcome to Steelers Live. Steelers General Manager Kevin Colbert spoke to the media on Wednesday about a number of topics. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger being the hot topic during his discussion. So we will break all of that down for you. But just a little bit of good news to report. The NFL has told the teams that the lowest the salary cap will be now heading into this offseason is $180 million. Originally, it was $175, so an extra $5 million, which is definitely good news for the Steelers and other teams as well. So now let's welcome in Bob Labriola of Steelers.com and Steelers Digest. And Labs, I said it was a little bit of good news, but it really is for the Steelers. But of course, as I alluded to in terms of Kevin Colbert, the big puzzle piece to figure out this offseason starts with Ben Roethlisberger. What did you make of what Kevin said yesterday? Obviously, he was asked a number of questions about Ben's future with the team.
Well, the Ben situation is an extremely complex issue. And I mean, there are, it's like an octopus. It has a lot of tentacles to it that, impact and affect other areas as well. I mean, it's not just so much, getting him in his contract underneath the cap at least 180 million or whatever else it might be. But, Kevin also said, what kind of, Ben's going to want to see what kind of team, we can put around him. I'm getting emails from fans. I get all kinds of great suggestions about how to get under the cap. Cut Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson and, trade Minka and, all that's fine from an arithmetic standpoint. Maybe the accountants like it, but then, who plays at cornerback? Who is going to be available, to be playing these different positions? The Steelers have 7 draft picks. I don't believe that they're going to be able to do virtually anything in free agency given their cap situation. It's going to take some serious surgery just to become compliant on March 17. So, how do you build a roster that needs reinforcements in multiple areas? And so that's why I think that this issue with Ben, is not a simple one. And I don't know, seriously. I mean, I think some people might have come away from Kevin's media availability yesterday thinking that there was a lot of double talk and subterfuge going on and all that. I don't think anybody knows yet. I really don't. I think that is the truth. The Steelers don't know if they can bring him back. And I don't know if Ben really knows whether he wants to come back under the conditions that are going to have to exist in order for that to happen.
And one of the things that did happen since we heard from Art Rooney II before we heard from Kevin is that Maurkice Pouncey announced his retirement. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show with Craig Wolfley. We know that could potentially impact Ben's decision. But also yesterday, Labs, Kevin spoke about his future with the Steelers. He's been going on a year-to-year basis. Here is what he said.
We're very grateful that Art and the organization are been willing to work with us on a year-to-year basis. Right now, our focus is on the free agency, the draft, pro days, the off-season, and wherever we get to with the contract status, we'll get to that at the appropriate time. But again, I'm just grateful that they're agreeable to work with me on a year-to-year basis because, quite honestly, that's how we judge ourselves year-to-year.
And Kevin did say his contract goes through the end of this May. He made it clear last year, Labs, he would never leave the Steelers without finishing a draft, but they do have a lot of work before they even get to that point. And as you mentioned, in terms of free agency, not knowing that salary cap number, but also 19 free agents. It's not just about Ben Roethlisberger. And Kevin said yesterday, doubtful that they could use a tag. That's something the Steelers have utilized a lot over the last few years. And when you look at this list, you realize this is a very uncertain situation of what this team is going to look like in 2021.
Right. And, the thing with the tag, while, the tag is maybe management's most powerful weapon in terms of keeping one of their best players or their best player from one year to the next, it just shows you the real issue that the Steelers have with their salary cap, because when you tag somebody with a franchise tag, let's just pretend it's $15 million for whoever, player X. Well, you have to have $15 million under your cap in order to do that. And their cap situation is so dire that they're not even able to use what might be the most significant weapon built into the collective bargaining agreement to try and help teams keep their good players. And I think if you look at this situation, realistically and calmly, this is not a one-year proposition for the Steelers in terms of, retooling, refurbishing, reinforcing, whatever verb you want to use, this roster. And so, I hope to God that Kevin Colbert doesn't decide at the end of this May that, I think I might be ready to go and lay on the beach for a while, because, the Steelers need him and what he is able to do, his keen eye for talent. And so I just hope that Kevin stays. And because, as I said, I see this as being a multi-off-season job. You can't just retool or reinforce an NFL roster in one off-season with 7 draft picks. I mean, it's just not possible.
And hopefully, as Kevin said, we'll find out if they get any compensatory picks. He was hopeful yesterday when he spoke that would be the case. Okay, Labs, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. As I mentioned, Kevin also talked about the retirement of Maurkice Pouncey. Maybe not a huge surprise given what we have heard and we have seen since that wild card loss to the Browns, but here is Kevin on Pouncey.
Maurkice got to the point in his own personal life where he felt he wanted to spend more time with his family, and we will always respect that. On the football field, he could still play at a high level, but Maurkice had higher standards for himself or higher expectations and standards for himself than maybe some others like myself had. Maurkice will always be a special Pittsburgh Steeler, whether he's here or not, and he knows that, and we're just so appreciative of what he did for us during his time here.
All right, time to welcome in now our resident O-line expert, Craig Wolfley of DVE and SNR. And Wolf, I think we all knew this was probably going to be an outcome. Obviously, not something everybody wanted to see. What did you make of Pouncey's decision going out with his twin brother Mike and also letting Ramon Foster break the news to the world last Friday?
Maurkice has always been a special dude. Ever since he came in, there was something rather captivating about the young man as you watched him do his business about the field. He was certainly someone who immediately looked to be capable of doing and producing on the field at a high level. And to see him grow, one of the stellar things that I think Maurkice really exudes his leadership. One of his greatest attributes is his leadership qualities. And for him to decide, I know I'm still playing at a high level, but I want to step out along with my brother at this time, it says something pretty significant and very sincere about the young man. And I've had a great deal of fun watching nearly every one of his games from the sideline over the last 11 years. And I can tell you, he is a great, great player, and he will add to the significant line of Steelers centers that have come through this organization.
All right, looking big picture now, we know Pouncey retired, and then Kevin Colbert was asked about the O-line yesterday. Al Villanueva is a free agent. Matt Filer is a free agent. Zach Banner is a free agent coming off of ACL surgery. It sounds like he is doing well. So, as Kevin put it, it is an uncertain group that we have up front. Where do you see this O-line going in terms of 2021, Wolf?
Well, I see there's going to be an emphasis on getting some road graders back into it. So this highly accomplished group of pass protectors probably might need to get reintroduced to a three-point stance and find out what it's like to come off the ball and put your forehead in a man's chin. This is exciting to me because I think re-entering into the running game and getting after it and let some of these guys do what they're going to do. I think it's exciting time. I don't think if it's Ben or Mason, you want to get more to that comparable 50-50 run-pass ratio and be able to run the ball like you know that you can in a Steeler fashion. And I think this offensive line, there's a great opportunity here for Adrian Clem and some of and the other guys to be able to come together and get this running game going.
Now, in terms of the crop of potential draftees, Kevin Colbert said the draft itself stronger at the tackle position than it is in the interior. Center and guard, traditionally not a very strong group. So we know there's Kevin Dotson returning. Chooks, what do you like about the guys that you know are going to be on this roster this upcoming season?
Well, we got a chance to see Chooks long term. You know, that's one of the things that you wanted to see. You saw him some sporadic starts. You saw that there's talent, there's athleticism, there's an ability to pass protect. What I think Chooks needs to do is be able to come and get himself in that run blocking mode. I would suggest to him, go push cars. All right, go down to the driveway, get in that car and push that thing, and don't start it up. Just push that bad boy. And that's one of the ways you can get your whole ham hocks going into a good run blocking mode. I think Chooks has made some great strides. I think Zach Banner is going to be interesting to see. He comes back and gets after it, because one thing you know about Zach, when he got that downhill mass rolling, he moved people. He was a people mover. You know, he was one of those guys that you talk about moving from guys from A to B, from point A to point B against their will. That's what he was very good at. So that's another guy. You look at Kevin Dotson. I'm really excited to see where this young man grows, because he has really got a great amount of potential. This guy is a slobber knocker at heart. He has that ability to want to get after guys and not just hit them, but to tear them up a little bit, which is a good old school manifestation that you got in your gourd. You want to get after a little bit and be able to ground and pound. So this offensive line has some exciting young people, and I'm looking kind of forward to seeing where exactly they go with this, wanting to reinvent the run game.
All right, a lot to pay attention to. Free agency doesn't start until next month, the draft after that. I'm sure we will talk a lot more about the O-line in the upcoming weeks. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Steelers Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back here next week.